Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Many years ago, when the recent tsunami hit the world, they observed that hundreds and thousands of people died, but very few animals died. Lots of humans, few animals. And when they studied this further, a lot of animals they found were on higher ground. Dogs, rodents, snakes, they all were at higher ground, and the humans were still on the beaches. The humans were still on the coast. And it emphasizes how humans do not live by instinct like animals do. Animals are tuned into that instinct of how the earth is moving, what's going to happen to the earth, and so on and so forth. You and I are rarely in such circumstances that incite physical fear. We have all sorts of different types of fears that are triggered by school or work or whatever it may be, but rarely is physical fear an experience of ours. So we're actually forgetting our instincts. They're becoming duller. They're almost non-existent. And I'd read an interesting observation about this. Why this is, we actually are not naturally built or wired with fear. Nurture has continued for so many generations that it's become nature. Because if you think back in the day, during the time of the dinosaurs or people were living in the wild, that physical fear was constantly present. This may happen, this may happen, this may happen. That whole fight or flight syndrome, if you're doing it for so many generations, you get wired like that. But now our fears are changing. We have financial fears, we have political fears, and so on. So this instinct is going away, but we're being rewired with different types of fears. And a lot of you may be thinking, what's the point of what you're sharing? That we create our own fears. It's very easy to say fear is natural, and when I say it, then I do nothing to change it. But if I think more, that I actually nurture fear, and it's become wired into me, then it makes me much more responsible for my emotions. Fear is a mindset. Someone who has this mindset is not afraid of specific experiences, they're just afraid, period. In chapter 6 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna does say sannyasa is putting in effort to let go of likes and dislikes, and finally to let go of the ego. In Gurudev's commentary on this, he says sannyasa is the garb of the mind. We are often exposed to sannyasa being the garb of the body. Gurudev says sannyasa is the garb of the mind. Do likes and dislikes live in your clothes? Red clothes, likes. Green clothes, dislikes. What about ego? If you wear a heavy coat, you have more ego. When you wear shorts and a t-shirt, less ego. It's the garb of the mind. I've been assigned to tend to the Cleveland Center, and I often have to drive between Niagara Falls and Cleveland, or Cleveland and Pittsburgh, or some sort of route like that. And there's a wonderful person who fills my thermos with coffee whenever I have to make this road trip. You know, drink this coffee, it'll help you stay awake. And I'm not a big tea or coffee person, but sure, it'll help me stay awake. And around 6 months later, I don't know why she decided to tell me this, she said the coffee I gave you is decaf. So for 6 months I'm thinking, yes, this liquid is helping me stay awake, when actually there's no physical properties that are helping me stay awake. Conversely, it's warm milk that's putting me to sleep. Correct. But I was thinking about it totally differently, so I thought, this is helping me. Now, how do I tell her that I don't want my thermos filled with that warm milk? We continue with our exploration of facing everything and rising. And I emphasize the word everything. If we have one fear in our life, it will be a catalyst to bring in another fear and another fear. If you keep your door open or window open even a little bit, a mosquito can come in, correct? And something so small can prevent you from sleeping all night. Even if it's a crack open. You open it up more, you have whole families of mosquitoes that are coming in. We all want to be fearless, yet we do not know how to be fearless. You ask anyone, of the top 10 things they want in life, one of them will be, I wish to be more confident, which is another way of saying, I wish to be courageous. I wish to be fearless. And how do we know if we're becoming more courageous or fearless? I remind you of how we began this workshop, when we have a love for life. I think I shared with all of you that the low point of the week for a typical male is Monday morning. And the low point of the week for a typical female is Friday evening. Interesting. That our females are looking after their work or their errands all week, and then weekend is more work and more errands. And what I find most interesting about this, Monday morning comes 50 times a year for a typical male. You get 2 weeks off, so 50 times. You work for 20 years, you work for 30 years. How many Monday mornings is that single tear going to come down your right eye like this? And since there's people in the car, you just wipe it like this. Something got in my eye. Now Fridays come 52 times, sometimes 53 times a year. How many times will we let that tear come down? A love for Monday mornings. A love for Friday evenings. Only people who are courageous and fearless embrace those down points. When everyone else is running away, they're running towards those periods. 2 evenings ago, our focus was on the symptoms of fear, and the general symptom of fear is failure. Failure physically, mentally, intellectually, a failure of responsibilities. And we've made fear so normal that we actually trap ourselves into it. I've read numerous studies of people who sign prenuptial agreements. Their marriages tend to fail more than those who don't sign prenuptial agreements. I'm afraid this relationship is not going to work. That's how we're going to start our relationship. Then what would be the fate of such a relationship? Whereas imagine you're in a relationship where you can't get out. Then you accept and you flow in that direction. And we emphasize this with our extempore speaking. For those who are afraid, voices quiver, legs shake, they hold on to that podium. I was watching the people who are holding on to the podium for protection. It's very different when speaking behind a podium or speaking in front of it, because there's one less wall to hide you. So today when we do our extempore speaking, in front. Yesterday, our focus was on the source of fear. And the source of fear is thoughts. And this is so magically experienced when you go to sleep. When you are asleep, are you afraid? Even if there's a cobra in your room, who knows why I would use that example when we all live in Washington, D.C. But if there's a cobra in your room, if there's a thief in your room and you're asleep, you're not afraid. As soon as one wakes up, there's a thought, and that thought can trigger that fear. Even in dreams, there are thoughts, and so people have nightmares. That's why Mother Sumitra told Sri Lakshmana, you should be so vigilant, so mindful, that enemies do not interfere with your father, that is Lord Rama, your mother, that is Mother Sita. Even in dream you should be like that. And Sri Lakshmana listened to his mother and said, enemies can come into my dreams as well. And when he heard that, it is shared in Tulsi Ramayana that he did not sleep for 14 years. Always sitting in Vajrasana, or ready to serve his father and mother. Because in dreams there's thoughts, and where there's thoughts there can be fear. I was teaching in a Balviar camp in another center, and right as the class was starting, two identical twins in grade 5 came to me and said, Vivekji, if we stop thinking math is hard, will math no longer be hard? And I love those questions because they're yes or no. Yes. Good. We're going to stop thinking math is hard. And I was so impressed. These girls who are in grade 5 are way ahead of the game of those who are believing that math is intrinsically hard, as an example. Just thoughts. And so yesterday, in our workshop portion, we engaged in Club Sattva, where with our blindfolds, we tried to let go of those thoughts that I'm being judged. And for those people who did have thoughts that they're being judged, they didn't move as freely. Their arms, their hips. Today, all of our students got to play Holi. Even though we're in the middle of August, why not? The greatness of Sanatana Dharma is, see, Deepavali is coming, I think, on November 7th this year. So with Deepavali, we do a month of celebrations before, then all of November, and then one month afterwards. We just keep celebrating. So today we celebrated Holi. And I was trying to explain to them the significance of Holi, because now it's so commercialized. Everyone plays Holi. Now we have marathons while Holi is going on too. Bhagavan Krishna, because he's so content, for no reason at all, would just wander into the forest. And he'd always have his flute tied with him, correct? And he'd go there and he'd just play. There's no reason to play. Nobody is there. He's not getting YouTube likes. He's just playing. And all of those beings who are sensitive, who are mindful, who are mature, they hear his flute. So they leave all that is not a priority and they go running to Bhagavan Krishna. And when they hear that music, they can't help but move their feet, move their arms, move their mouths. And each one believes Bhagavan Krishna's with them. Now they're in the forest. Hundreds of people are dancing around in the forest, stepping on flowers, stepping on the grass, stepping on bushes. And Bhagavan Krishna is too. And they would bend down to touch Bhagavan Krishna's feet, and they would take some of that color and they would put some on themselves and put some on Bhagavan. Now, when everyone is colored like this, who's a girl? Who's a boy? Who's fat? Who's skinny? Who's smart? Who's stupid? Everyone is the same, just like Lord Krishna. Such a deep experience. And when they were dancing with Bhagavan, they did not care who was watching, who wasn't watching. They were with Bhagavan. And just to share one more experience of this, Bhagavan Krishna, whenever our gopis, these young girls, would go and bathe in the river, he happened to be there. Smart, tricky, whatever it may be. And he would gather all their clothes and he would hang them on a branch. And they'd all be bathing, enjoying themselves, and they'd look for their clothes and they wouldn't be there, but they'd see Bhagavan Krishna kind of just lazing around on the branch, one leg just hanging like this, almost teasing them. Krishna, why do you keep taking our clothes? The wind was blowing them. I collected them and I'm saving them for you. Well, come and give them to us. I'm playing my flute. You come and get them. And they would be so bashful, to step out of the water and there's Bhagavan Krishna. Other than one gopi, Radha, confidently would get out of the water, walk over to Bhagavan Krishna, she would kiss his feet, then take her clothes and leave. Not concerned about judgment at all. Fearless. Have you ever thought of Bhagavati Radha being fearless? We think of Hanumanji and Lakshmana and all of that. Bhagavati Radha. I'll take it to a higher level. We often praise Bhishmacharya in Mahabharata, which we should. But I feel his equivalent is Devaki Mata. Now, for all of the parents in the room, imagine you're told that every one of your children, it's not that they'll die, they'll be killed. And she went through 6 births where her children were killed, but she did it knowing that maybe that 8th one will come and save everyone. Imagine the dedication she had to Bhagavan, the sacrifices she went through. Devaki Mata is someone we should have on our walls. And you know those quotes about attitude or inspiration? We should write fearless. Dedication pulls sacrifice.